Ever feel like, limited by what you know? Stuck. Like there's all this information out there, but you just can't quite reach it.
Yeah, it's a common feeling for sure.
But it's not just us humans. Get this, even LLMs, those super smart AI systems, they run into the same problem.
Right, exactly. They're limited by their initial training data.
So think about it like this. Imagine a doctor, right, trying to diagnose some rare disease.
Oh, yeah.
They need all the latest research, clinical trials, even cases from all over the world.
Yeah.
But a typical LLM, it might not have all that.
That's right.
Well, that's where RAG comes in, Retrieval Augmented Generation. It's basically like giving those LLMs a massive upgrade, connecting them to all that fresh external info.
It's like giving that doctor a direct line to every medical journal, research database, you name it, instantly.
That's wild.
It really is.
But how does it all work?
Well, we're going deep on this today, specifically how LlamaIndex and FalkorDB make it possible.
Yeah.
We're working from this article, LlamaIndex RAG, build efficient GraphRAG systems, really good stuff. It is a great article. Let's break it down. So how RAG works is kind of like two modules working together. First, you got the retrieval module. Think of it like a super efficient research assistant.
Okay.
It goes through tons of external data, knowledge graphs, databases, you name it, finds the most relevant stuff for a question.
So it's not just like randomly searching, it gets what you're actually looking for.
Exactly. Analyzes the query, uses some fancy indexing to pinpoint the best info, even from really messy sources. That's where LlamaIndex comes in.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what happens next? The LM just gets hit with a fire hose of data.
Well, not quite. That's where the second module jumps in, the generation module. It grabs that nicely sorted info from the retrieval module and then uses the LLM's power, to put together a clear and complete answer.
Ah, I see. So it's like a chef getting the best ingredients to make an amazing dish.
Exactly.
Wait, so does this mean that LLMs can finally get past those context window limits we've been hearing so much about? Because, I can barely remember what I ate yesterday, let alone process like thousands of pages.
You're right. Even the best LLMs can struggle with too much data, like trying to read a 10,000-page book and remembering every detail.
Yeah.
But our RAG solves this. It delivers just the important stuff so the LLM can focus on understanding, not getting overwhelmed.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
We keep saying LlamaIndex, though. What is it? Why is it so important for this?
So LlamaIndex, it's like a Swiss Army knife for LLM developers. It has everything you need to connect your LLM to outside data, build those retrieval systems and create those really powerful RBG applications. And one of the things that makes it so easy to use is its data connectors.
Data connectors.
Yeah. What are those?
Think of them like specialized translators. Say you want your LLM to use info from scientific papers.
Okay.
LlamaIndex has a connector that can grab those tough PDFs, understand them, and turn them into something the LLM can easily work with. Or, maybe you want to analyze social media trends. There's a connector for that too. LlamaIndex makes it simple to bring in data from practically anywhere. So it's not just about getting the data. It's about making sure the LLM actually understands it.
Exactly.
That's smart.
Right. And once you have that data, LlamaIndex has all these cool ways to organize it.
Okay.
It's not just basic keyword searches anymore.
Okay.
You can use things like, vector indexing, which gets the meaning and connections between concepts for way better retrieval.
So, okay, we've got the data, we've got it organized, but how do we actually ask questions and get answers? Is this all like super complex coding?
Nope, not at all. LlamaIndex has a query interface. It's like a natural language interpreter. You can ask questions just using plain English like you would with, a human expert.
Okay.
And then the query interface, it takes your request, figures out the best search method, and then it presents the info to the LLM for the response.
So I don't need to be a coding master to use this.
Nope.
That's pretty amazing. Sounds like anyone could use this.
That's one of the best things about LlamaIndex. It's for everyone, even if you don't know a ton about tech. And that's key to, unlocking the real power of RAG.
This is really impressive.
Yeah.
We've mentioned FalkorDB, though. How does that fit into all this?
So FalkorDB is the perfect partner for LlamaIndex in building these powerful RJAG applications. It's a specialized database designed for knowledge graphs, which are essentially maps of information. Imagine a network of concepts, entities, relationships, like a family tree, but for ideas and facts.
So it's not just storing data, it's Understanding the connections.
Exactly.
Oh,
And FalkorDB is really fast and efficient at navigating these complex knowledge graphs.
gotcha.
It uses a query language called Cypher, which is made for this type of data.
It sounds like Cypher is the key to unlocking all this hidden knowledge.
Exactly. And FalkorDB has a bunch of tools and features that make working with knowledge graphs way easier. In our next segment, we'll dive into a specific example of how LlamaIndex and FalkorDB work together to make a real RAG application. We'll use the SpaceX Falcon user guide as an example, just like the article did.
Oh, cool. I'm hooked already. This isn't just a tech deep dive. It feels like we're exploring the future of knowledge itself.
It is pretty amazing.
We're back. And I gotta say, all this talk about LlamaIndex and FalkorDB, it's got me really thinking. Before we get into building an actual RAG application, we were talking about how FalkorDB is specifically for knowledge graphs. I'm still kind of wrapping my head around what those are exactly.
Sure, yeah. Think of it like a map, but instead of places, it shows how different ideas and information are connected. Like, say we had a knowledge graph about SpaceX.
Okay.
We'd see nodes for things like, Falcon 9, Starship, Elon Musk, all that.
Okay, yeah.
And then you'd have edges connecting them to show the relationships, like Falcon 9 is a rocket developed by SpaceX, and Elon Musk is the CEO of SpaceX, things like that.
Ah, okay, I see. So instead of just data in rows and columns like a spreadsheet, a knowledge graph actually shows the meaning and the connections between things. It's like taking a flat image and making it 3D.
Exactly. And that structure, that's what makes knowledge graphs perfect for RAG applications.
Because they let LLMs understand the context and relationships. It's not just getting a bunch of facts, it's seeing how those facts fit together in a bigger picture.
So when the LLM gets a question like, what's the payload capacity of Falcon 9 to geostationary transfer orbit? It's using the knowledge graph to understand not just what Falcon 9 is, but also what geostationary transfer orbit means and how all that relates to payload capacity.
Exactly. It's like having a detective who can not only find clues, but connect them to solve the case.
Yeah.
And this is where FalkorDB really shines. It's query language, Cypher, it's made to navigate those complex relationships super fast and efficiently.
You keep saying Cypher. What makes it so different from other query languages? I mean, I've played around with SQL a bit, but this sounds totally different.
Well, Cypher is designed specifically for knowledge graphs, so it's way more intuitive and powerful for this kind of data.
Okay.
Instead of writing all this complex code like in SQL, Cypher uses a pattern matching approach that's more like how we naturally think about relationships. So instead of writing a ton of code to find all the rockets made by SpaceX with a payload over 10 tons, I could just describe that pattern in Cypher and it would find it.
Exactly. You'd say something like match our rocket.develop B that's SpaceX, where our payload capacity 10, and FalkorDB would instantly give you the rockets you're looking for.
Wow, that's so much easier to read than what I'm used to. It's almost like talking to the database normally.
That's exactly what it's like. That's the beauty of Cypher. It makes it so much easier to ask those conference questions and get real answers, even for people who aren't super technical. And that's a big deal when building RJAG applications.
Okay, I'm really seeing how FalkorDB is perfect for this. But let's get down to it. How would I actually build a RAG application using LlamaIndex and FalkorDB? The article used SpaceX's Falcon user guide as an example.
Yeah, perfect example. So let's say you want to make a system that can answer any question about the Falcon 9 rocket using that guide. First, you'd use LlamaIndex's data connectors to load the guide into the system.
And those connectors would handle all the hard stuff, like reading the PDFs and getting the text out.
Exactly. Then you connect LlamaIndex to FalkorDB and start building your knowledge graph. You'd use LlamaIndex to, define the relationships between different things in the guide. Things like, Falcon 9 is a rocket and it has certain stages, engines, payload capabilities, all that.
So LlamaIndex builds the structure of the knowledge graph, and then FalkorDB stores it and lets you search it.
Exactly. Once you have the knowledge graph all filled in, you can start asking questions using LlamaIndex's query interface. So you ask, what kind of engine does the Falcon 9 use?
Yeah.
LlamaIndex would turn that into a Cypher query that FalkorDB can understand.
And then FalkorDB would go through the knowledge graph super fast, find the answer, and send it back to LlamaIndex, which then gives it to me in a way I can understand.
Exactly. It's like this perfectly choreographed dance between LlamaIndex and FalkorDB, working together to make all that info in the Falcon user guide easy to access and understand.
This is incredible. But wouldn't you need to update it all the time, like when SpaceX changes the guide or makes new technology?
Of course, and that's another thing FalkorDB is great at. It's made to handle all those changes and updates smoothly.
Okay.
So as new info comes out, you can just add it to the knowledge graph. You don't have to rebuild the whole thing.
So it's not like those old databases where one small change could mess everything up.
Not at all. FalkorDB is all about flexibility and scale. You can just keep adding new things to the knowledge graph to keep it up to date.
I'm blown away by how this all works together. You mentioned earlier that FalkorDB has some really cool visualization tools. Can we talk about that? I'm a very visual learner, and I think actually seeing a knowledge graph helped me understand it better.
Oh, for sure. FalkorDB has this great tool called the FalkorDB browser, and it lets you see the knowledge graph in a really intuitive way. It's like looking at a map of all the information.
So I could actually see the relationships between like Falcon 9, Merlin engines, payload capacity, all laid out.
Exactly. And you can interact with it, zoom in on parts, filter the data, even run queries right there in the browser. It's super powerful for understanding and exploring the knowledge graph.
That sounds amazing. I bet it's really helpful for the people actually building these systems. It's one thing to understand the code, but actually seeing it must be a game changer.
Absolutely. The FalkorDB browser is a game changer for developers, data scientists, anyone who needs to work with complex data. It takes this abstract idea of a knowledge graph and makes it something you can actually see and understand.
This is all so cool. We've covered so much, but it feels like we've barely scratched the surface of what RGA, LlamaIndex, and FalkorDB can do. Do we have time to talk about any other cool FalkorDB features, or should we move on? It's been quite a journey, this whole RGA, LlamaIndex, FalkorDB thing. It's clear this stuff isn't just for, tech geniuses. It could really change how we all deal with information.
Absolutely. And it goes way beyond just answering trivia questions. Think about using ARG to, analyze legal documents or research historical evidence, even create custom learning materials for students.
That's what's so crazy about all this. It's not just about making Google search better. This is about understanding stuff on a whole new level. It's like having an AI research assistant that can break down all that complex data, make connections I'd never see, and help me come up with some real insights.
Exactly, you get it. One of the most exciting things about ARG is how it could revolutionize scientific research.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine a team of scientists using ARG to go through massive data sets of genomic information, clinical trial results, all that scientific literature. They could find patterns and insights that would have taken years to discover the old way.
That's incredible. It's like giving scientists a superpower to speed up those discoveries, maybe even lead to breakthroughs in medicine, agriculture, who knows?
And it's not just about finding things faster, it's about making those discoveries accessible to everyone.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine if anyone, no matter their technical skills, could use a RAG to understand complex research or, explore the latest in their field.
Yeah.
We could see a boom in citizen science and way more informed public discussion about science.
It's like we're making knowledge available to everyone, giving people the power to really get involved in science.
Exactly, exactly. And this power goes way beyond science, too. Think about education. Imagine students with personalized learning platforms powered by RAG.
Oh, yeah.
These platforms could adapt to each student's needs, give them specific feedback, even create custom materials based on their strengths and weaknesses.
So no more one-size-fits-all curriculum. Every student gets a learning experience that's made just for them. That's huge for education.
Huge. And it keeps going. Imagine using a RAG to build systems that could give personalized financial advice, translate languages in real time, even create custom travel itineraries based on your preferences.
Wow, it feels like we're on the edge of a total change in how we access and understand information.
For-
But, with any powerful tool, there's a responsibility to use it ethically. Are there concerns about bias in the data that feeds these R-bias systems?
Oh, that's a really important point. We have to remember that any AI, RI included, is only as good as the data it learns from. So if the data is biased or incomplete, the system will be too.
So it's not just about getting as much data as possible. It's about choosing the right data, being careful about what we include.
Yes, exactly. And it's also about having ways to check and fix potential biases in these systems.
Okay.
We got to be able to spot and address any unfairness, make sure these systems are used to benefit everyone.
This is a really important conversation. We need to make sure all these amazing AI advances are used to make a fairer and more just world, not make things worse.
Couldn't agree more. It's on all of us, researchers, developers, policymakers, everyone, to work together, create some ethical guidelines, be transparent, and make sure these technologies are used the right way, in a way that matches our values.
It's a good reminder that as cool as all this tech is, it's still just a tool. We decide how it's used.
Well said. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into R, LlamaIndex, and FalkorDB. I hope everyone listening has a better understanding of this incredible technology and how it could change how we interact with information.
It's been an amazing journey. I feel like I have a whole new appreciation for what RAG can do and how it could change so many parts of our lives.
The biggest takeaway I hope people get is that this is just the start. RAG is a growing field, and we're going to see even more amazing advancements in the years to come.
So keep learning, keep exploring, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to make the next big breakthrough. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the future of knowledge.